So I'm going to collect that rock right now. Alright. So I outlined a plan in my tweet as to what I was going to explain with this character, so I'm going to go refer to that. And I'm going to go down the bullet-pointed list and just explain. Because hopefully I can do that coherently. I really don't know if I can. But we're going to find out. Kyo-1... Where did I specify it? Really? Come on, Twitter. It can't have been longer than... Oh, there it is. Alright! We're starting with normals. That's a good place to start. So, a common misconception is that all the Kyos have very similar normals. This is not true. Kyo-1s are actually very different. And I'm going to go over them all in painstaking detail. So let's start with his stand A, 5A. So, one thing unique about him compared to the other Kyo clones is that he has the same 5A no matter where he is. So if you're close, you get this, and if you're far, you get this as well. It's got a unique hitbox compared to a lot of Fire 5As as well, is that it'll tag crouching characters. So if he's crouching right over here, it'll still hit him. Even if he's like right next to me, he's crouching, this will still hit. This is a very low hitbox. Or rather, the hitbox reaches down very far. Which means, as a 5A, this will always check even something like a crouch jab as a frame trap. So if you're just doing like this, you can check like mashing. Because you'll tag them while they're crouching as well. Not particularly important, but it is a property of the normal that is different, because if I picked regular Kyo, for instance, I believe his does not hit crouchers. It might. I know his Spire 5A does not, yeah. This will not hit a croucher. That will. But you can just see the difference, right? You don't have to be directly in front of them to get that. So if they're crouching, you do 5A, you can still clip them from pretty far away. Like, look at that. It's actually really not bad in terms of a Fire 5A, this is actually pretty versatile, because you can still check short hops with this. Like, if he's hopping... That is the hop, right? One of these is hop. There we go. If he's hopping, you can still check him with this, too. It's like, it still works like every other stand A does, where you can just check hops. But it has the applicable other benefit of being able to clip crouches, just that far away. So that's Kyo-1's 5A. It's actually pretty useful. I don't use it a lot because I'm not super great. But if I was really good, I'd be able to like do a lot of stuff with this. It's fairly useful. Think of it like having Kyo's close 5A, but anywhere. 5B, this is one of your most useful confirm tools. We'll get into that later. But as a normal on its own, it goes pretty far. It's pretty quick. It is cancelable. You can do that. You can cancel it into any special. Not many of them will combo. It does not do anything like force stand or anything crazy. But it has pretty good reach, and it's cancelable. So that's really all you need out of a good 5B, right? It's very different than Kyo's as well. Like, if we just go back to Kyo again. His 5B is more of like a poke. It's not cancelable, it's a little slower. It goes a little further, but it's more like a poke, a little interrupt. But Kyo-1's is absolutely like a confirm tool. You can still use it as a sort of poke, but since it doesn't go as far as regular Kyo's 5B, you don't use it at the same ranges, you don't apply it the same way. But you can poke with it, cancel, do all sorts of stuff. And it's just really good. The other nice thing about it as a cancel is that you can't mash out of it. So like you can't do like 5A out of this or something. So you don't have to worry about sometimes getting like a chain like that by accident instead of your cancel. So 5B is most often the best way to end a light string, because you can always cancel this easily, you don't have to worry about any misinputs. Pretty simple, really. One of his most important normals, probably, is this one. It also will hit crouchers, you know, standard stuff. 5C! So, far away, this is just, you know, the standard Kyo Fire 5B. This is probably good for, like, punishing certain things you couldn't normally clip, you know. It's about as useful as regular Kyo Fire 5C, which is, it's there. I think Kyo can cancel his, right? Nope, he can't. So yeah, it's not a super useful normal. What I can tell you about Kyo-1 5C, like Fire 5C, is it's what you get when you want close C, but you don't get it. So, now close C, this is very useful. If you've played regular Kyo, or you've played KOF period, you know that a lot of close normals are very often staples for confirming. And this is no exception. This is your really fast, close heavy cancel button. It's your close C, as you would expect playing a Kyo. So, you got everything you want out of this normal. It's fast, it has a lot of active frames, it'll go up in anti-air, so if they're jumping, you can still hit them with that part. It covers a lot of, you know, space in front of you like that, and it has a very generous special cancel window, and of course it special cancels into stuff. And you can combo into just about any special move he has. Except for, like, that one, pretty much every other special will connect. Even the heavy version of that. Which is crazy. It's really good. So obviously, close C, just like with regular Kyo, extremely important normal. This is like your prime jump-in normal, after you get a jump-in normal. You just want to do this one. Like that. Every time. Assuming it hits. And Fire D! So, this is a low crush. This will go over, like, crushing light kicks. You know, standard stuff. It's a little worse than regular Kyos, though. So, applicably, you would basically use it like this, but way less, because if you look at regular Kyo Fire 5D, it's crazy. Look at that. That thing is, this is frame 8 on regular Kyo, right? And on Kyo-1, it's like frame 12 or something. Really slow. Comparatively speaking, it's very slow. You can't cancel it. But if you want to call out, like, low mash or something, if you know they're going to do, like, I don't know, a sweep or a 2B or whatever, crouch B, whatever, what have you, you can call it out with that. And if you're in max mode, you can cancel it. I think you can anyways. Should be able to. Yeah, so, like, you can cancel it. You don't get much canceling it in max mode, but you can cancel it if you're maxed. So that's pretty much where it becomes more useful, I would say. In your max mode and you low crush something and you confirm off it, but that's a pretty fringe scenario, so we're not going to go over that. Wouldn't being slower mean more? It does, but it also means that it's harder to set it up. So you have more low crush frames, but by the time the low crush is active, they might be recovered by then. Especially if you're late on the call out, right? It's the difference between, like, Kyo and Kyo-1, I guess. And the other thing is that it's, even with regular Kyo, it is still low crushing during the active frames. So the faster startup on regular Kyo is nothing but a benefit, because you're still low crushing even while it's out. So you don't have to worry about the timing. But it's still, like, it's basically old Kyo 5D. So. And close D is old Kyo close D. Not much to say about it. It's okay. You can cancel out of this one. I don't think it has less pushback than close C. I've not found a reason to use this normal. I'm sure there's probably something. Might be more active, I don't know. It's very there. It's a bit slower, so if you're worse at doing combos from close C, like if your execution just isn't fast enough, you can supplement it with, like, this normal. But it's a little slower, but not slow enough to not combo. So you can do, like, as an example, instead of doing this, you can do this. It's a bit easier to combo. You don't have to do it as fast, so it's a little easier. Now we go to crouching normals. So, standard crouch jab. I don't really have to explain much about this one. It's basically like Kyo crouch A. Pretty similar. If there are differences, it's probably strictly hitbox related, and very minor. I don't know if it's plus on block. I don't think it is. I think it's like -1. I'm not completely positive on that. I'd have to relook at the Dream Cancel page, go over the frames again, but it's a standard good crouch jab for pressure, you know. And like any light Kyo-1 has, you want to just chain it into a 5B, really. If you hit it, you want to just do that every time. because it's just super reliable. We'll get into that later. 2B! This is a really good poke. So one thing I should mention about this 2B is that, just like Kusanagi, this has a very good hitbox. It's not quite as good as Kusanagi's or Kyo-2's, but it is still better than regular Kyo 2B in terms of hitbox. He has a bit of like better priority on the tip of his toe, so there's less hurtbox on his foot on this one than regular Kyo's. At the very tippy toe, his foot can't be hit. So you want to space this kind of around that area, but not quite. It's mostly good because it's a fast, low poke you can do out of a run, so you can do like stuff like this. You want to run up and check them if they're trying to mash or get out of whatever pressure you're setting up. You can do stuff like that, and then you can do like that. And this works at all sorts of ranges too, like even near tip range this will actually hit. Like not quite at the tip, but if you're like close to max range, that'll still connect. So that's very useful. So 2B is a staple, kind of like with regular Kyo. You're going to be wanting using that almost all the time for like just run up pressure, you're low. It's basically it does everything you need it to do for a light normal on pressure and on offense. It is not plus on block, but it's still pretty good. It's like -1, which in KOF world is not terrible, really. It's hard to punish on reaction on block anyways, and you still have enough time to take your turn and poke at it. And especially if you space it well, not an issue. Crouch C! This is a really weird normal. This can anti-air. It's not particularly great at it, but it can do it. So like if you're not willing to anti-air with his better anti-air tools, which I'll get into later, this will do the job. Like especially if they're full jumping, if they're doing a full jump, this is what you want to do as far as anti-air normals go. Because it hits pretty high. It's also active earlier, so if they're not jumping, you can still tag them with stuff. And the most common time I get this normal is when I mess up my jumping confirms and I hold down too early. But it still lets you combo, so it's okay. So, all in all, it's a pretty good crouch C. It's got a decent amount of range to it as well. That's that nice forward reach. But yeah, it's basically an emergency anti-air. I wouldn't use it outside of emergency, but it is there. And now we have a sweep, which is extremely notable. So I'm just going to compare that to regular Kyo's sweep very quickly. So we're going to look at how slow this sweep is. It's not like a bad sweep at all by any means. It's a very, very, very okay sweep. But you can see it's cancelable, it's kind of slow. But if we go back to Kyo-1 sweep now, look at how fast that is. So this sweep is pretty useful because it's so quick. You can punish stuff with it, you can like, check people if they're blocking low, and the benefit of this sweep is that it's also cancelable. So even if it is blocked, you can make it somewhat safer. You can apply pressure after it. Like on hit, you can do that. Keep your pressure options good. It does not have as much reach as regular Kyo sweep though. You notice that it doesn't hit at this range. It only hits right about here. It has less range than Kyo's sweep, but it is significantly faster. So that's its general use, right? You want to use it sort of like a sweep in any other game. But it's extremely fast, confirmable. You can also whiff cancel it, but seeing as it's that fast, the whiff cancel isn't quite as useful as Kyo's sweep whiff cancel, because naturally it comes out so fast that you have to whiff cancel it very quickly. It's not like with Kyo where you can like stick out sweep, watch what happens, and then like whiff cancel it. It's a little too fast for that. But it is still very useful. Now we're gonna go to standing blowback, which is also pretty similar to Kyo's. Same use. You can whiff cancel the startup, or rather, right when it's active, you can whiff cancel it. So it's a good like attack me option, especially if you know what moves are invincible on this character. We'll get into that later too. But it's a very good like fake out. Otherwise, it's just a standard kind of mediocre CD. Not going to be using this too much. I don't know what it is on block, it's probably okay, but generally speaking, you're not going to use this move a whole ton. Jump normals, this is where it gets interesting. Let's start with Jump A, shall we? So at first glance, this seems like a pretty crap jump in. Doesn't hit as low as JB. You know, not particularly great hitbox. If they're crouching, you'll notice I hop right over them and I don't hit them. This normal is extremely important because on a full jump, it gets the most stupid cross-up of all time. This will just hit. You don't have to space this very well. You can just do it. If you're anywhere kind of behind them off a full jump, and this will just hit every time. It's hard to miss this cross-up, is what I'm saying, essentially. It's really hard to miss this. It is so easy to get this. You can just hyper hop from anywhere, and you'll cross them up like that. And it has enough hit stuns where you can confirm. So that's the important cross-up. You do boom, 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 boom. And that's cool, because up kicks normally doesn't connect mid-screen like that. It's off a jump in. Like, it'll whiff like that. But with this cross-up, you can do stuff like this mid-screen, and we'll get into why that's important later. But this jump normal is extremely important. Just don't do it in a short hop unless you're air-to-airing. Like, if they're hopping with you, you can do that to air-to-air, but otherwise, you want to use this in full hops only. Whether it's a hyper jump or full hop, sorry, in full jump only. Whether it's a hyper jump or just a regular jump, you want to do it from that. You don't want to do it from a hop on offense. JB! It's Kyo JB! Anybody that's familiar with KOF knows why this normal is good, but to explain very briefly, it hits at a very low angle, covers that diagonal and forward space perfectly in front of Kyo. It is the prime rushdown tool this character has, because much like regular Kyo, it covers that helpful angle, as I said. One thing to note though, this JB has a much worse hitbox than Kyo's. It will not beat things. The hurt box completely covers the hitbox on this normal. So you can't use it to stuff things early. Like, if you're playing regular Kyo, you can jump up here and do this, and if they miss time and anti-air, you can actually clip them with the active phrase. But if you're Kyo-1, that will trade. I wish I could, like, record stuff in-game very easily to demonstrate, but essentially, like, if K-Dash does his Ein's trigger into that up kick he has, the, like, forward kick, that he aims upwards, you can do, like, a full jump JB with Kyo, and it will actually tag him out of that. But if you do that with Kyo-1, it will trade, because the hurt box just covers the entire hitbox. So, you don't want to use this preemptively. You can't do that thing you can do with regular Kyo JB, where you tag them out of the startup or something. You have to be basically on top of them when you use this, which is fine, because it still excels as, like, as Kyo's JB, right? You know, you're covering that excellent pressure angle. Like, if I demonstrate, like, look at that. You can sort of cross up with it still. It's got all the transient properties that you would want Kyo JB to have. It's good. It's a good JB. You want to use this on offense. This is basically your only hop normal on offense you want to use. Because next up we go to JC, which is pretty cool. This is the other one you can use. It's a bit slower. It's not as good at tagging people out of the start of things, but it's still pretty good. Lots of hit stun, not a lot of pushback. This can cross up, believe it or not. It's very hard to space it, but it will in fact cross up. I think you have to space it on standing opponents. It's either that or it's out of a hop at a very specific angle. It's like the hard cross-up. This is... If JA is like the easy baby cross-up, this is like the really hard one. There you go, like that. So at that specific spacing, you can cross up with this. But otherwise, you only use it if you're sure it's gonna hit, or if you're doing hot pressure and you want to stifle their timings a bit. But perhaps the most important different jump normal this character has is JD. Which is, well, this is a really good air-to-air, mostly. It's got a pretty extended hurt box, covers the hitbox, you know, as you would expect from all of this character's jump normals at this point. However, it's extremely active, and it comes out very quickly. At least for what it covers. That angle and range it covers is very good. And the fact that it comes out so fast is important, because we're just going to have him mirror my inputs here. It's a really cool feature you can have him do. So you'll notice it's a little faster. And it's also active a bit longer as well. You can just tell how much longer it's out. Because it punishes that. Look at that. That's actually a punish. So it's a bit more active than regular Kyos. Maybe it's about the same speed, but it feels a bit faster to me. So you want to use it the same way you'd use Kyo JD, but think of it like you have more active frames, and it's a bit more useful because your other air-to-airs aren't as good. So this is a pretty useful normal to check stuff. If they are crouching, it will not hit them. That's the important thing too. You cannot tag crouchers if you do it early. You have to do it late, which at that point you might as well just do a JB or a JC. But if you want to hit crouchers with this for whatever reason, you cannot do it early in a jump. You have to do it like, if you want to cover both options, you have to do like slightly delayed, so that the last active frame will tag them while they crouch. You can still get like a somewhat okay air-to-air, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. That's a bit of effort for a situation you're not going to have to worry about too much. Next up, jump blowback. Woo! It's JCD. It's about as good as Kyo's, and it's pretty good. So, the big thing about JCDs, they are not overheads. However, they have a crap load of block stun. At least Kyo's does. So if you're Kyo-1 and you're pressuring them, you want to do this sometimes, because this puts them in block stun forever. Look at that. You can just see how much block stun it has. Lots of pushback, lots of block stun. Generally speaking, it's good. It's good for pressure. You want to stick this in every now and then. It also has a really good hitbox. Deceptively good. So you can beat a lot of things with this. Sometimes YOLO JCD is actually an option. Just do it, whatever. If they block this, it's your turn still. So you can just keep the pressure up like that. So this is a very common Kyo Kusanagi thing, but Kyo-1 can do it as well. He doesn't have J2C though in the air. He doesn't have like the common trifecta of great Kyo options, but he still has JB. So you can still apply pressure like that. You can even do stuff like you can do stuff like this too if you wanted. I think there's a spacing for this. Hold up. It's hard to do with the input lag, you have to forgive me here. Oh, I want to get hyper hop after I walk back a little bit. Ah! So bad. Oh. Oof. But like, you can just do that into like hyper hop, stuff like that, whatever. You get the idea, it's very hard to do. There. Imagine that but fast, because I can't do it apparently. But yeah, it's a JCD, it's pretty good. Important to note, on counter hit, this does give you a combo. You can get whatever you want. Most importantly, if you see that it counter hits, you want to go for this. And I'll explain why once we get to special moves. Next up, command normals. Every KOF game has them. Kyo-1 has them because he's not that weird. Here we got Shitty Rekka, as I call it. This is Bodiga, but not good, but still okay. This is a poke! This is all you do with this normal. You poke. You poke with it. It doesn't have auto guard. You can do it on a close C if you want. Not much you get off that, but you can do it. It's there. I guess if you want to do this. If you want to do something like... Oh yeah! Maybe not. I thought that worked. Maybe, yeah, there you go. You can do that if you want. Otherwise, I don't see much use for it. It's pretty slow. It has a lot of recovery. You can cancel it, thank God. If you couldn't cancel this on, like, non-command cancel stuff, like, if you had to do this to cancel it, this normal would suck. But thank God you can special cancel this. Oh. It seems pretty unsalvageable, but it's alright. The other command normal he has with punches is the 3C. This thing. Do not let the looks deceive you. This is not cancelable. This is not cancelable no matter what you do. You can cancel it from close C and it will still never cancel. Nope. If you have max mode on, you can cancel it. So if you're in max, you can be like... It's really hard because you have to do it with like the hit freeze, but you can cancel it. But it's not very useful. This normal does have a very specific use though we'll get into later. But At a glance, it doesn't look great. It is a low. It is, however, a low. You have to low block this. If you try and guard this standing, you will get hit. So, that is a low. So at the very least, it is what it looks like. At first glance, though, it seems like trash, and I understand why someone would think that. Next up, his overhead. Normally, Kyo has the axe kick. What does Kyo-1 have? Because he makes no sense, he has this weird-looking thing. So for an overhead, this goes pretty far. You know, you can see the distance it'll go relative to the corner. It's pretty far. You're like right about here, and it'll still hit. That's important. If you're doing your standard pressure and you want to really mess with them, you can do this at like damn near max range. And it's kind of hard to react to. It's kind of slow at 22 frames. It's not a crazy fast overhead, but it's around that respectable Street Fighter margin. And in KOF, it's very hard to react to even overheads like that because of how smothering the offense can be. So you can slip this in quick max pretty easily like that. You know, get your damage that way. One of my favorites is if you do overhead, you can do quick max run. But it's very hard. But that is something. If you cancel into it, it stops being an overhead. It doesn't get that much faster. So again, canceling into this from 5C is not particularly useful. There's not really any combos you can get from it. It's kind of like a shitty frame trap, but if you delay cancel it from like a light normal, now we're talking. Like that. That's a common... well, it's not really a delay cancel, but it's a similar idea. That is something you can do for pressure as well. So if you're doing a lot of 2B, you can do stuff like that. So you can do your common run-up 2B pressure, and then you can slip that in there. And that can be the can opener that gets you a lot of damage when you quick max. But otherwise, pretty standard overhead. You don't use it much outside of you're being in their head. But that's an important place to be in KOF. So now we're at the fun part, the special moves. This character's specials are all really weird, so I'm gonna take the time to explain them adequately. Let's start with his fireball. This move seems horrible. It kind of is, but let's go over it. So, 236A is your fireball, one of them. It's really slow. Look at that startup, that's crazy. It moves at about the speed of a regular jab fireball otherwise, but it is extremely slow to start up, and why would that be? That's a very good question. Well, it can hit OTG! So you can use this as an OTG ender, if you want. But the most common use is using it as a pressure tool that both works as an OTG if they don't quick recover, and also meaties if they do. So, as an example, we're going to set him to quick recover here. If I sweep at this distance, and I do jab fireball, if he didn't quick recover, that would hit him. If he did, he has to block that meaty. See? That's one of the things you do with jab fireball, is you want to use it to hit OCG, but also have the assurance of a projectile that will meaty them. The reward on hit for that meaty is not particularly high, but if you're worried about quick recovery, and you don't know any mix-ups at the moment, or you just are not in a situation to set up a cross-up or anything like that, you can use meaty fireball as your assurance tool. That they'll have to at least block it on wake up, right? You know, they won't just get hit by it. They might, but it is at least useful to note. And then you can run up and do your hot pressure, like my turn, stuff like that. I think, actually, JD is very useful in that scenario, because you can hit, yeah, like that. So you want to do stuff like that, keep the pressure on. Force them to respect it. It's important. His heavy fireball, thankfully, is a lot more traditional. This is, an easy-to-explain move. This is just a standard low fireball. The startup is pretty normal. Think of it just like, you know, KOF 95 Kyo C fireball. It's good. Does the same thing. You can go under some projectiles. For instance, if you're fighting EX Robert, this will go right under his fireball. Right under it. But otherwise, you don't use this one as much because, again, you can't really set up any pressure. But if you're just want a zone, that's the jump at me. You have to jump to get over it, unless you want to block it. So that's pretty much the only use of that one. Next up, this move, the Blue Ogre, as it is called. I don't know why it's called the Blue Ogre, but it's cool. This is your standard hit confirm move. This is like, I'm gonna combo. I'm gonna light confirm you and I'm gonna go into this. Every time. Every single time you get a light confirm and you go 5D, you should always go to this move. Outside of a few circumstances. But if you know that they're like crouching and you get a hit, that's what you want. This will always hit, it's always reliable, you'll always launch them, and you get pressure! That's so good! So you get this, and you can do this, or if you know they're going to quick recover because they don't want to take that OTG damage, nobody wants to take just extra damage, you can do something like this. That's scary. People have to be wary of this, because this is also an empty low setup, and also an empty throw setup as well. And all of that is because this move works the way it does. That is legitimately okay. And it's something you need to know when you're playing this character. You want to do that. You want to hyper jump like that after this hits. If they don't quick recover, in that scenario, you are still okay. Because you'll hyper jump and it'll be right next to them and you can just keep the pressure up. Keep going. Still your turn. The light version is probably the most important version of Blue Ogre, because it's the one that connects the most reliably. The pushback is really low and he goes into the second part really fast. And basically at every range it hits at, it hits the whole way through. And it's super cancelable! It has all of this going on, but it also super cancels. This is probably one of his most loaded specials in terms of utility. You can super cancel this. Even without max mode. And you get damage! Look at that damage. Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing what you get from this normal. Or this special, rather. Heavy version, can't quite say it's as good. It really isn't. There's more pushback on it, so if it hits it far away, you just fall out of it. It might do more damage. I don't think it does, though. Well, no, it doesn't. It actually does not do more damage. So this one, I would assume there's probably a combo that uses this somewhere. But otherwise, it's not very good. Now, Blue Ogre is horrendous on block. If you're getting your stuff blocked, you don't want to do this move. Seriously, don't do this on block. I'm telling you, it's a bad idea. That's really bad on block. However, as a punish option, it's very good. You can see how fast it is. So if you block something, and you know it's minus, but it's kind of hard to get like a good punish or like a good normal punish. Is there a way to have him just... Like if you know you can punish. Look at that! That's a punish. It might be. I don't know. I don't know the exact frames, I'm sorry. But that's just an example. But you can do that. So this move sees a lot of use as a punish tool as well. Buffer this out of guard, and because it's on 2-1-4, it's a 2-1-4 motion, you don't have to worry about dropping your guard while you do it, because you always will be holding back. So, it's pretty good as a punish option as well. That's Blue Ogre. Next up we have... I forget the name of this move, so I'm going to look it at the command list. Oh, nice. That's probably a bug. I think this is New Wave Smash. I would assume this is what this is. So New Wave Smash is just your 2-3-6. This thing. This move is important! Kind of like with regular Kyo, you get combos off it. The light version, not as much. Or maybe it is as much, I don't know. The light version's not the one I use very often. But I think it does less damage than the heavy one. Let me set that back to restart. I believe it does less damage. It might not, but I feel like it does. Oh, it does it? Wow. You can use either one then. It seems like they both give you anything, which is great. That's the difference from regular Kyo, because I don't believe the light version gave him anything like that. The heavy version is what I usually default to, but the light version could work sometimes. It tends to connect worse mid-screen, however. The heavy version's the one you normally want to use anyways, because it just hits better. Like that. This is an important move, because it's like the staple for all of your combo starters from a close seed. Get your cross up, you want to do that. It's important, and it transitions into the next move very well. Oh, also, it's good on block, too, if you're good at pressuring about it. As an example, if they're blocking this, and you delay that, there you go. That's safe. If they don't know about the gap, or if they're like respecting the gap in pressure, you can definitely do that. I know regular Kyo and some of the other ones can make it a bit safer. Kyo-1's is probably like the least safe on block, but it's still helpful to note if you accidentally get that on block and you try to confirm and you're like, oh god, if they're blocking my really slow punishable launcher, you can just delay it just a bit. And you're in the free zone, basically. Save yourself, right? It's helpful to know. Next up is the very aptly named move, what was it? Upward kicks or something? Spinning kick! This move doesn't seem very good, but it's actually ridiculous. This move. Oh lord, this move. Look at that. What's good about this move? Everything. I might actually attempt to get, like, you know, the Hitbox Bureau up for this, because I feel like it's important for people to understand exactly what is good about this move. So I'm going to attempt to get it working. Well, it won't. However, this move is invincible until it is active. Actually, no, it's invincible even on the first hit. Like, the first frame it hits, it is still invincible. Fully invulnerable, from frame 1 all the way to that. So we're gonna just frame step here. And we're gonna go over all the frames that you have. Well, I can't really frame advance it, but... look at all that time that you're invincible. Like, all that, up until that hit, you are completely invulnerable. So for instance, we're just gonna set Kyo to just do an attack. We're gonna have him do anything. Screw it, do your, like, fire heavy punch. We're gonna go right through it. As soon as I time it properly. Look at that! Completely. What's that? Kyo is harassing me with his jump normals? He's doing, I don't know. A jump kick? I don't know. Look at that. Go right through it. This is one of your most important anti-airs, which is why I said 2C is your emergency anti-air. We're gonna go back to that normal right now. This normal is your emergency anti-air. This is the I can't get this to come out, so I'm gonna do this instead. Because this move is definitely your best anti-air. This will beat any hop normal in the game. Completely. Assuming you, like, time it properly, it'll go through every single hop normal in the game, every single jump normal if you do it deep enough. For all intents and purposes, it's about as good as Kyo's DP, except if it hit way further in front of him. Like, look at how far it goes. Look at that! So you have all that range, and you're completely invincible, so you can also call out regular moves in neutral with this if you're really bold. and you know they're gonna press a button, you can do this, and it'll just hit. One weakness it does have, and something you have to be very aware of, is if they are crouching, it will go right over them. You can't have everything in the world, but if they are doing a crouch normal, sometimes certain crouch normals can actually lose to this move. Common anti-airs, sometimes crouch jabs, very rarely. But, you know, it depends on the character and how tall they are, but... So this move is extremely good. For that very reason, this move is extremely good and extremely important. This is your reversal tool. This is your anti-air tool. You can end combos with it, but... Well, the other version of this move is far better at doing that. So we're gonna go over that. Let's talk about spinning kick, the heavy version, this one. So, this is good for one reason, and one reason alone. And if this move had nothing else going on, it would still be a good move for this one reason. This is a hard knockdown. You cannot quick recover this knockdown at all. They are down on the ground. And why is that good? Because 3C, we talked about this normal earlier, that will hit OTG. So if you don't want to do OTG Fireball because it's slow, you don't have the time to do it, what have you, you want better Oki? I get it. Do your 3C. And if you are close enough and you get a hard knockdown, it will hit. Boom. And you still get Oki. That's awesome. But this being a hard knockdown means that you can do whatever you want. You got all the Oki time in the world, you don't gotta worry about fast recovery, you don't have to cover any options. You are just good to run up and just go to town. Do what you want. You want an OTG, extend your damage. You can do that. If you're really fast, you can buffer a run up and get 3C, and it'll hit. This is really tight, but I'll get it. I will get it, I promise. It works. I know it does. Maybe not. Maybe it has to be on an air opponent, whatever. Like if you do up kicks here, you can do like, you want to buffer a run. And that'll hit if you time it right. But that hard knockdown is extremely important. Extremely important. So this move should always be in the back of your mind as what you want to end your combo with, ideally. In an ideal world, this is where I want to end it. Because you get so much from this. You get so much from this. It's insane. We are now at super moves! Oh boy. Aren't those fun? I love super moves. So let's talk about them. Let's go over the easy one first. The one that you already know and probably understand if you've seen KOF before, but if not, 214-236A gives you a Rochinagi. It works about the same. The A version, I believe, has lower body invincibility while you're holding it, and the C version has upper body. One important thing to note about Kyo-1's Orochinagi is that it is the same frame data-wise as Kusanagi's, or at least relatively comparable, because you can combo into Orochinagi from a close spirit. I'm really good at this. There you go. Regular Kyo, for instance, cannot do that. It's just like a bit too slow. Yep, neither version. One other thing to note about Kyo-1's Orochinagi is that the C version comes out a little faster. So if you super cancel into, or if you cancel into the A version, it won't combo, but if you do the C version, it will. I don't know why the C version comes out faster, but it does. So, for combos, super cancels, what have you, you want to use the C version. You don't want to risk the timing error, because it won't combo. That one will, so keep that in mind. Otherwise, it's just pretty standard Orochimaru. 236, 236A or C gives you my favorite named super in the game, Vermilion Heaven Exorcism. And that's what it's called. And it's actually a pretty good super. There's a few things about it you need to know. Firstly, the A version is the standard super. It's the one that works like you'd think it would, and is completely normal. Outside of however they program the hitbox on this thing, because wowie wow. So he punches the floor, and then this little flame pillar comes out. This is a low, by the way. If you try to block this standing, you will actually get hit. Which I think is very funny. That's a low. Both of these hits are low. Okay, sorry. That hit's a mid. The fire is a low. This is not an overhead, by the way. So don't think it's like, whoa, it's a mix-up. It's not. It is not a mix-up. So what's good about the A version then? It doesn't look like a particularly good super. And you'd be right. If that was all it did, you'd never use it. But you get your usual hard knockdown combo, and if you want to tack on some fat damage, we'll get that damage. The A version OTGs! Both hits can. Like the fire pillar, like the little fire wave can OTG as well. So if you're far away, you know, you want to get that OTG. If for whatever reason they don't quick recover this, you can like hit them with the fire wave still, and it'll count as an OTG. You can also juggle into it. Oh, I just want to knock them down. There you go. That was the fire hit, I believe. So both parts of this can OTG. But generally speaking, when you OTG someone with this, you're probably going to get the punch part. Because it is most commonly going to be on a hard knockdown. The super isn't terrible to super cancel into either. You probably get better Oki from it than you do from Orochimaru. I don't know if... I think they can quick recover it. Yeah, so you have to be on your toes when you're pressuring after this. That is probably worse, actually. So you want to do this. And you got your Oki. Where it gets funny. What's the funny version of this move? Because it's Kyo-1, he has to have a funny version of everything. Let's talk about 236, 236C. Let's talk about invincibility frames. My favorite thing in fighting games. Especially when they're this intuitive. How could I forget? So, we know everything about that other version. It's not invincible at all. You can't just do this move. It will not beat anything. Well, if you do the C version, you are completely invulnerable until the fire is out. Yes, really. That is completely iframes. You can't be grabbed, you can't be hit by a fireball, nothing. You are just totally invulnerable until that move is active. So, this is, in fact, one of the most gimmicky reversals in the game, but it does work sometimes. Keep that in mind. If your opponent doesn't know about this move, that is a hella gimmick. And there's a few other things you can do with this that are really, really funny. Such as Okizemi. Excuse me. Oki, why would you do that? Well, I don't know, but it works. If that happens, for whatever reason, that occurs. And this would be like, well, you can punish this on block, but would everybody like to know what this move is on block? I don't know if this information is completely accurate because Twitter informed me of this. However, it feels about right. That hit right there, that second hit, you are plus 15. And an additional thing that you should know is if you try and guard cancel roll that second hit, the first hit you'll get out. But if you try and guard cancel roll that second hit, watch what happens. You see that? Look at how long they have to wait for that to happen. So, if they try and get out of this by guard cancel rolling... Oh! Now you can't really punish it, but it means that their little escape option is just pressure land. And if they try to GCA it on this hit, you can just punish them. So if you set up spacings where you can hit that second hit, you are just plus. It's also still a low, by the way. But it's got all these weird gimmicks. But there are some holes in the armor that I do need to inform everybody about. I feel like I would be a liar if I didn't do that. There is a gap. So if you hit that first hit there, they can roll out before that second hit will connect. So more often than not, if you're going to use this for the plus frames, you want to space it that the punch doesn't hit. Because otherwise they're going to be able to react to that period of time in which it was blocked. And then just get out of the way. So you want to space it for that hit. You want to space it for the fire wave that slows the game down. That one. That's important. So, other uses for this super include things like pressuring after a knockdown, where you expect that they will quick recover. It's very gimmicky. I wouldn't recommend doing this. I can't stress it enough. This is not recommended. It's just it's cheese that you have if they don't know the matchup. But that's the big thing with this super. It's cheese. At least the C version is. And if you know they're gonna do something like wake up DP, you can actually go through Dragon Punches with this move because of how much iframes it has. Because again, it is invincible entirely until it's active. How cool is that? Now we get to look at his level 2 super. Not as important, outside of damage meter dump. But much like regular Kyo, you can do this. If you're not bad, you can anyways. Look at that. That's a combo. You can just max activate and juggle. But the level 2 super is the Rochinagi. The damage is pretty respectable, but it's better if you get the first 3 hits. You want to get those early hits where he's on fire. So, worth noting, this move is like the classic I hate dealing with it. It's pretty safe on block. You can get GC8 out of it. They can GC roll. It's not super punishable on block. It's got the fire at the beginning to pop people up for combos. So its most common use is in juggles. Like you almost always see this in a juggle. It is a staple. As an example, something like this. Ugh. You gotta get the max activation just right here. Ah! So bad. Ah! I make that sound every time I mess this up. Oh my god, please. Please KOF. I had it earlier. It'll do the light kick version. No? Oh, I gotta delay it. I think you have to delay this. So if you're doing this juggle, you gotta delay it. There you go. Yeah, so delay it a bit. This is what people want to see. Combos, right? Look at that! That damage! That is literally 2 bars. 3 bars, sorry. That's your 3-bar damage. You're not even doing a quick max combo. You're doing just a max. That's what that is. Like, screw it. I'm just gonna activate. I'm just gonna straight up just activate and do it. Yeah, but that's the most common use case for this super. Corner combos. But it's very good at it. Sometimes you'll get like that, they'll fall out of it. You have to make sure you hold it just the right amount of time. It's kind of finicky. It's also a very loud super. So sometimes if you combo into it, you can destroy your opponent's eardrums. And this is a psychological advantage you'll get. On top of the psychological advantage of playing Kyo-1. So you got all that going for you. I'm gonna try it one more time and then we move on to the next thing in this little Kyo-1 mini guide. Oh my god, can I please activate? No? No, I can't? I understand. I understand. Whatever. Good damage, it's fine. His hidden super desperation moves. So you can normally only use these when your life is red. You can see right there. His is this. Doesn't seem great. It's not invincible at all, really. You can just get smacked right out of this. Well then, what's good about it? You can combo into it pretty easily. As an example, so you can't super cancel into these. You can just do, in the words of me, the classic, I'm gonna spend 3 bars to delete you. If you don't want to do hard max mode combos, if you don't want to do that weird activation on up kicks, you don't have to. You can just do this if you have 3 bars. You'll still get okay damage. If all the hits connect, it'll do a lot. And though there is a spacing to which they do. You can also confirm into it from a close C. So if you do something like that, you can do a lot of damage. Turn on input display, huh? Oh, it's broken. Hold up. I'm gonna restart the game. I think the game just broke. Old port. There we go. Alright, but yeah, you can do something like that. And that's like a standard confirm. Pretty good, you know, all things considered. For a move you can't super cancel into. Or you can also do that. Wow! That's a lot of damage, huh? That's 3 bars. If you ever got the meter to spend, I mean, this character is normally best played at a point position where he's not going to be spending meter. But if you're, like, OCVing somebody and you got 3 bars and you're low on life and you land across it. Easy confirmed for like damn near 75%. Well, we've gone over all of his moves now. Let's go over basic combos and game plan. Oh boy, my favorite! So Kyo-1 has a low confirm that's very good. You've probably seen me use it a few times. It's this. This is your bread and butter. You've been doing this all the time. Oh my god, do it all the time. Literally. Don't stop doing it. Don't think about anything else. Do this thing a lot. This is your most important confirm tool. It starts from a safe low pressure option. It ends at a 5B, which you can react to if it's blocked or not. And it ends in a move that'll give you Oki. No matter what. No matter if they quick recover, if they're like, I don't want to take that OTG, they are going to eat that Oki. Look at that. Hyper jump, boom, boom. That hyper jump, beautiful thing. Now, one of the most common things you're going to see Kyo-1 do, or what you want to go for, is your little empty jump low into that, right? But now I know what you're thinking. What are the other combos I can do with this character that are effective? And here's another one that's very good. That! That is really good for a few reasons. Let's start with the first one. That's a hard knockdown. So, for starters, you get anything you want. You can get an OTG, you can get, you know, damn near anything from this. Especially if you're near the corner. You can get pressure, look at that. Beautiful pressure opportunity. You've got all sorts of options available to you if you do 2B, 5B, 6-2, 3D. That is also very good. You can also do that, but it'll fall out. So I recommend just 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 6-2, 3D every time. Even when they're far away, as long as that 5B hits, they're gonna get hit by that last hit, and that's a hard knockdown. It's immensely important. Other stuff is like this. You can do that. That's your generic close C. I'm gonna do a lot of damage. I'm going to my Oki after that. That. Again, really, the pressure with this character all really boils around just how ridiculous this cross-up is. This button is stupid. Anybody playing KOF, or like playing this character specifically, should be using this button damn near all the time. On any, like, knockdown scenario you get. Any reset, anything. You can do, like... You can do some stupid crap, like... What was it? I know there was, like, a reset involving this. Look at that. You can do some really cool things. With this JA and how dumb its cross-up is. Like, it's amazing how good that cross-up is. Spend a bar and, like, look at that damage! It's awesome. But those are the big combos you want to know with this character. You want to know 2B, 5B, that. You want to know this. And then you want to know anything off of up kicks, which is like, you want hard knockdown, which you almost always want. So, you do 6-2, 3D. Like that. If you want a super cancel for some extra damage, you do that. Off of the up kicks, you want to do just that move. And then you want to super cancel it. Which I'm really bad at doing, apparently. Like that. But usually you want to go for this, because you want to be saving all your meter. Because again, as I mentioned, Kyo-1 is a very good point character. You don't want to spend a lot of bar with him. And thankfully, he gets damage for no bar. You don't need to spend meter with this character to get his good damage. Like even this alone, especially if you're near the corner, you get this cross-up or you get a jump-in of any kind, really. But the cross-up in particular is very good because you can get up kicks mid-screen with that. Like that. I mean, even if you don't get the OTG there, that's still a lot of damage. For just a jump-in mid-screen. A lot of corner carry and your hard knockdown. You can do all sorts of stuff. Spend a bar. If you want to spend a meter, you can. This is good. The general game plan is you want to play him kind of like Kyo, but you have a better emphasis on anti-airing with this. So if they're jumping a lot, you can check them with that. You want to poke them a lot with Kyo's standard good pokes, like the 2B. And you want to abuse the fact that you've got a fireball on neutral. That's the big thing. You've only got one fireball, but your anti-airs are so good that even scaring people to jump at you a little bit, you can reap a lot of rewards and like steal turns on jump-ins. You can call out lots of moves with this. So generally you want to play him like a more defensive Kyo, but once you get that hit, you want to go in with the standard Kyo JB, JC pressure. And you want to open them up with what is undebatably the easiest low confirm across all Kyos in this game. Might even be the only low confirm that isn't a max mode confirm. That's what you want to open them with. That's your can opener. That's your safety. That's your everything. You want to poke at them with your really annoying long pokes. Mostly your 2B. You want to forget that Kyo even had a 5B. Don't worry about it. This is just a confirm move. But everything else you want to poke at them with. Also, his throws are pretty standard. C throw is just like Kyo's, not great. D throw is a hard knockdown. As for dealing with Kyo-1, you want to watch out for this move. This move is going to go through a lot of your things. And generally speaking, if you crouch, and you go for crouch meaties on his wake up, those are the safest. Because again, if you're crouching, you're not going to get hit by that. So it doesn't have the same strength as the regular DP, even though it is extremely invincible. So if you're pressuring him, you want to be crouching a lot. At least when you're up next to him and he's knocked down, you want to force him to respect that. This character on Wake Up is a lot weaker than the other Kyos. But that's the general gist of Kyo-1. He's a very weird character, but you want to play him, you know, pretty defensively until you get that opening you want, and then you can start running really dumb mix-up. Really dumb cross-up setups that are hard to avoid. Some really tricky resets. Like this one. Like the one I'm dropping. You really want to be careful. Just stuff to watch out for against this character. And that's Kyo-1, essentially. That's the meat and potatoes of the character. At least, like, the basic stuff about him. Hopefully, if anybody's interested in playing Kyo-1, they can look at this and go, oh, you know, maybe I wasn't implementing things. He's a very simple character.